Jason Gunn,
Well,
welcome to Between Two Beers.
this is special. This is a real treat to be here, guys. I really mean that.
There's a real good energy since you've stepped into our office and studio, and you have cancelled a massage to be here today,
Yeah.
and that's big.
No, I want you guys to see that for what it is. Like massage. Who doesn't like that? But wait a minute. Who doesn't love this? Okay?
And
So that's on hold.
Yeah.
Others would have put you on hold, not me.
Not you.
No way.
No.
That's the calibre of the bloke.
That's
In my notes at the start is Jason Gunn. It's one of those names that you say the whole thing, isn't it? Do you always get Jason Gunn?
I honestly do. I say to people, hey, Jace is fine. Jace is fine. Jason, if we're going to be really formal. But Jason Gunn is like, oh, wow, we're in trouble here. Either mum or the teacher. But yeah, I guess it's like a brand though, isn't it?
It is.
That's kind of people know you as that, which I'm very humbled by. But equally, the sooner we can get from Jason Gunn to Jace, the better. So
The brand is strong, and I'll put you in with Rachel Hunter
You-
in terms of when we tell people we had someone coming on the show, it's a real head turner. Jason
Yeah.
Gunn. Everyone
That's true.
That
is
is-
excited for Jason Gunn.
That is so kind of you. I feel
It's a good point. Well made.
well. I feel remarkably distant from Rachel, and I mean she's international supermodel. I see some obviously some connection, but no, she's another level altogether, another league.
Yeah. Hey, we have been fizzing for this episode. We met you a few months ago at the Tall Poppy Real Estate Conference.
Yeah.
And my first impression of you was bouncing around, emceeing the event. I was like, that is the most confident man I've ever seen. Like Jason Gunn, what an absolute legend. And then in conversation with you afterwards, found out that you get really nervous. And I was like, I couldn't put those two things together, which was, I think Shay did a post about how sort of inspiring that was because he gets really nervous.
Yeah, super nervous.
Yeah.
It was surreal. It was surreal to hear you say that.
Yeah. Well, I think that the best of us do get really nervous. I think the nerves are a good thing. I think the nerves, well, number one, I like you if you get nervous because you're grounded, right? I always say if you get nervous, it's because you actually I really want this to go well. I don't assume it's going to go well. I don't assume I'm all that in a bag of chips. So I worry about what could go wrong. And then I just go about thinking, well, what things can I put in place to make sure that doesn't happen? So nerves are great. I always just say it's just about controlling them and not letting them control you. Yeah. But the day you get nervous, you're an asshole. Yeah. No, stop getting nervous.
stop getting nervous,
sorry.
yeah.
I'll just
I've been
clarify
an
that.
asshole for a long, long time.
Yeah, guys, we're in a room of assholes. Yeah, sorry.
But sorry, I do remember. So we did a keynote at that conference,
You
and
did, very good.
The chat with you afterwards was great because that is your area, and you gave us a few little tips and things
Yeah.
that we could do. And I was like, "Fuck it, who better to get that from than Jason Gunn?"
Well, no, that's kind. But I mean, you guys are just, look, I love this show of yours. Look, my son Louis does. Look, I know so many people who listen. You're doing this so well. And look, I'm not just saying this, but you really are. You're just leaps and bounds ahead of so many people. There's so many podcasts out there that ask the same questions. I know the research that you do, he said nervously, but I think that just says so much about you guys. You take what you do seriously and you want to be. You talk to the people who are the best in their fields, right? Apart from myself. And then you do the same. So much respect, fellas.
And I remember this is very much a parallel to the conversation that we had on the day. And I remember feeling very starstruck and super humbled that you would give us that feedback because it meant a lot as
Thank you.
one of a number of people I'm sure that are listening to this that grew up with you as our after school companion.
Yes.
And then to walk into a room and have you introduce us and then give us such nice feedback
Please.
afterwards was amazing. But I hear you also get starstruck sometimes as well.
Oh, all the time. Like, it just, look, the Gunn family claim to fame was that my mother taught Ray Columbus how to type when he worked at the tax department. Heads up, a lot of listeners going, who's Ray Columbus? Sure. He was a very famous entertainer. And so, look, we didn't have any next door neighbor who was like, you know who that is. We didn't know anybody. And I dreamed of being on television and still can't believe that dream came true. But yeah, I've got to meet all sorts of people and I'm just like ridiculously starstruck. I get to work with people and meet people and I can just think of people like Richie McCaw who've got on a plane and said, hey, Jace. And I'm like, what? He knows my name. Like even today at 55, anybody, like even New All Black starting out, I go, g'day, mate. He's like, oh, g'day, Jace. Oh, God. Like anybody on television, I love my sports. So yeah, I do. And I hope, and I'm sure that will never stop. I just think it's because I perceive myself to be just such an ordinary Jase. It's like, I'm just Jase. It's like I haven't climbed a mountain, haven't worn an All Black jersey. So when someone who I love and watch knows me, I'm like, what the friggin' hell is wrong with this picture? Like, that's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the appeal, eh? It's that every man, you're alongside them.
That's exactly what I try and be. Like, I never, ever want to be in front of people. That will never happen. I always want to experience things with people. I want to talk with people, not at people. I want to make sure if I have a journey, I share it with people. That's one of the issues I have with a lot of influencers, is they get things and I'm going, well, that's really cool, but unless you can show me a way to get that with you, you just become an asshole. It's like, you're just that guy who's showing me all the free shit you're getting. What about me? So yeah, I think, walking beside people is what I've tried to do.
We wanted to start with what you do at Easily Said, and the art of communication and storytelling, which is what you do for a living, because I think a lot of people listening could benefit from your wisdom. So what is the power of storytelling, and what do you do with Easily Said?
Well, it's changed, because when it first started, I was like, hey, are you nervous about talking? And I would come on and go, look, this is what I do. So let me show you what I do to get ready to talk to a camera or talk on stage. I remember beforehand thinking, okay, Jason, what do you do? And like 25 pages later, it's like, yeah, I guess I could share some of that stuff with people. Like, I didn't know it. I learnt it from some masters, and yeah, I could pass this on because no one teaches this stuff. And then it's become more a lot of that still. And now I work a lot with businesses and help them with their own story. I say I like to go in and help people find their story. What is it you do? Like, what is it you really do? And then help them craft it and then help them tell it. So it's internal communications, how businesses talk to themselves and each other. And then when that's ready, I love to help them tell their story to clients and potential clients. But so it's a lot to do with building, team culture. And then a lot of it's to do with like selling their product, selling what they do. But at the heart of that, it's storytelling. I just think it's a superpower.
Can you generalise? Are Kiwis good at telling their story?
Oh, we're great. Look, let's just, I'd love actually to stop using the word storytelling and just go back to yarns maybe, because we are really good. The problem is we've just got this disbelief. We just self-doubt up the wazoo. We're just like, oh God, I'm not good at speaking. And it's like, I'll say to people, well, have you ever practiced it? Like, what have you done? I thought the other day, somebody says to me, I'm not good at speaking. I go, okay, well, there you go. And I go, I want to say to them, are you good at golf? I've never played. Well, the first thing I'm not going to do is to sort of put them into an international televised golf tournament, right? We're going to go to the driving range and hit thousands of buckets of balls. And one day you'll go, I reckon we could go to an actual course. And we'd all get that, but for some reason, we all think, I spoke once, it went real shit, so I'm not a speaker. It's like, okay. Yeah. So it's amazing the amount of CEOs and leaders that I meet of huge organizations who don't see themselves as speakers. And at the heart of every company going good or bad, it's always communications. And that's what I love the most, is when I can see change. And often one of the things I love is when I can see an organization realize the difference that they make. And often it's not what they think it is. They go, oh, I just sell this. And I go, oh, I think you find it's a lot more than that. Yeah. So I love that. I love that.
I've heard you also talk about a lot of New Zealanders, particularly their first experience with public speaking is often a negative one, because it's whatever it is now, year 7.
Yeah.
Year 7 speech competition.
Yeah.
And it's like, who speaks really effortlessly at age 10?
Yes. You get given a couple of subjects like, should plastic bags be banned, or should school uniforms be compulsory? I don't care. I'm 12 years old. I don't give a shit. I'm 12.
Yeah.
And then you get up there and you get judged literally out of 20, and you're told it has to be 3 minutes. And if the bell rings, you'll get marks off. And the really good speakers don't ever look at their cards. It's like, what the hell? Yeah. And then you're up there going, no. And so the self-doubt kicks in, the imposter syndrome, the judgment. And 35 years later, we're all, as New Zealanders, we're still clinging to that friggin' day at the school speech competition. They should be banned.
How did you go at the school speech competition?
I was okay. I mean, I lent on humour, so that was good for some teachers, and other teachers that there wasn't enough information. I was like, well, screw you. It's like, So I did okay. My brother Andrew is the greatest speaker I've ever heard. He's like his knowledge of the English language and his ability to write and speak is just like, I just sit back and go, like, wow. Like, he is the speaker of the family. Amazing. Yeah.
I had the privilege of chatting with Andrew in the lead up to this. And we're going to talk about some themes coming on. But I do want to move into young Jason.
Yeah.
Before you got into broadcasting and in school, what were you like? Were you, a good student?
Oh, well, now, what does that mean exactly? School and me we got on okay until we got to high school. And that's when I think I just fluked the first exam in what was Form 3. Is that year 9, isn't it? I was like, and so I got into a good class. They quickly realised that obviously I'd fluked the multi-choice and thought, this kid's not right. And so I struggled there. Also, I was at a school at the time, Christchurch Boys High School, which at the time was very rugby-centric. So me who wanted to perform a bit and be dramatic. So like, well, you must be gay. It's like, well, number one, not a problem if I am. And number two, I'm not. But it's like, that's what I want to do. But no, we just didn't do drama. And I think we did one little bit. So when I was allowed to do drama, or the other thing I loved was sport. Loved tennis, loved football, loved it. That little other stuff in the middle there, that work stuff. Yeah, no, I could have skipped that. So not a lot of confidence there. And still today, probably a lot of my lack of confidence in myself comes from those days at school of thinking, well, you're just getting through here, aren't you? Like, this is above you. And I still have that little voice in my head. Sometimes I'll talk to real grown-ups who are having conversations and I'm like, no, they don't understand this at all, but I'll just shut up.
Where did Uncle Ray and his
bless you.
understanding of humour and making your dad laugh, where did that come along in the journey? Because that was like a light bulb for you, right?
Look, Uncle Ray from the mighty town of Nightcaps down south, he was one of Dad's brothers. And Uncle Ray had this amazing ability to drive up to Christchurch to see us with Auntie Valmai. And Ray could just tell stories around the table that would just light up the room. And I just go, how do you do that? And my dad had a great sense of humour, but Uncle Ray could make him laugh like nobody else. And Dad had a very stressful job. And I was thinking, wow, look at the superpower you have to make my dad laugh like that. And that became like, I guess almost a goal of mine to go, if I can do that, then that's like walking on water, like, come on. And I would just watch him with people, and just didn't matter how young or old they were. He could just make them laugh, like laugh out loud. Funny stories, been a bit of a cheeky bugger, oh, here we go, here's trouble. And it was just that. And I remember from a young age, visiting Uncle Ray, or when Uncle Ray came to visit, was just like, okay, good uncle. Good stories, good laughs. And I remember just thinking, look at the good that you can do with making people laugh. Yeah.
It's crazy, those formative experiences and how they shape who you eventually become.
So true.
Or want to become.
Yeah, those people that just turn up in your life or are in your life and you think, yep, no, I don't want to be like you or not interested in that. But you, yeah, what's your secret sauce and how do I get a bit of that?
And was it imitation, or did you start crafting your own material, or what?
I think so. Well, as I got a bit older, and, when I say that, like probably 9, 10, 11, 12, when I got to that old age, I tried to make Uncle Ray laugh, and I could make him laugh occasionally. So I thought, wow, like this is Anakin and Yoda. This is like, wait, what? Like, who is the master now? And I loved that. And so to get his acceptance of like, yeah, and his guidance, I guess. Like, he was no comedian. He was just naturally a good keeper. He used to be a miner. So he'd tell stories about being down the mine. He could tell stories about this and tell stories about that. Much like my mum was a great storyteller. So I think I just started to just possibly not try and be him, but I probably, without knowing it, loved his stories, and so started telling stories. And luckily lived in a family where that was acceptable. And I wasn't sort of, like, all right, Jason, shut up, which would also have been acceptable, really.
Did you have international influence on your comedy? I'd heard The 12th Man was, I'm not
yes.
sure if this is around that time. But
Well, before then, see, we grew up with a lot of British comedy, like in the house. And so without a doubt, the two Ronnies and Morecambe and Wise were just like, I just couldn't, I see it now, I didn't understand it then. I couldn't understand their timing, just how polished and how brilliant it was. And it's the only thing that I guess I think I've taken a little bit with me. I'm a perfectionist. So if I'm doing something on stage or I've made a video and I'm editing it, I go, that's good. But others could do that. This could actually be better. So what would we have to do to make this better? And it was by growing up and watching particularly Morecambe and Wise. And one of my absolute career highlights was, sadly, after Eric Morecambe died, Ernie Wise came out to New Zealand with the Variety Club, and I just wanted to meet him, and it just didn't work out. And then one night I was waiting and I missed the bus, and in the theatre that the Variety Club was putting a show on, Ernie Wise came out, and I was in the back row, and I went, oh my God, and he performed this 4-minute routine, right? The guy's probably in his 70s or probably late 70s. And he rehearsed this 4-minute routine probably 30 times over and over. And I just watched him. I went, and that's how you do it. Mm-hmm. Look at you. And then the next night he was leaving and I thought, stuff it. And I raced up and said, I just need to say, you're just such an influence. And he was such a lovely man. And I've always remembered that. Like, if anyone ever comes up to you and is pleased to meet you, just give them what someone like him gave me. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, I watched you practice last night like 30 times. Why? And he was like, well, you never know how it's going to go, do you? You need to be able to change it, don't you? And I was like, oh my God, yes. So I thought, to be that age and still be crafting your skill, now that's a life goal, isn't it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that you don't retell stories. You relive stories.
Try to, yeah.
And I can already see it here of like taking yourself back into the moment of being the kid in the back row.
Yeah.
And the mannerisms that come through. It's such an engaging skill.
It is. Being in your presence, the way you tell the story. No, I'm not trying to just gas you up, but it's an energy you emit with your storytelling. And you, like Jay says, you're right in the moment. I'm hoping that's coming through in the audio.
I hope it is too. Thank you. Trust me, it can be a bit too much for some people, but I do. Which is why I'm often so affected, because I will put myself there and often feel the feelings and go, oh, there I am, which is, again, something that easily said what I try and teach people to do. It's like, is that beautiful phrase, which I love, was it Teddy Roosevelt said, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I just love it. It's like, just if we could get better at just really showing people how much we care about something. If you're trying to sell an idea or a product or a vision, everyone will jump on that bus. But if you're just going through the motions, like if I just told you a story and you went, okay, yeah, sure. But I guess without knowing it, what I'm trying to do is walk beside you again and bring you along on the story. Yeah.
Mm. And I think, to speak to the podcast, that's where we have had joy, because we show the guest how much it means to us. You know how much work we put into wanting to get their story out, and then they repay it.
No, and that is why it is just so wonderful to be here, because a couple of things you create this very safe place. I think so many of us who listen a lot also will see, I was going to say, your bits pop up on social media. Take that the right way. But those
There's
beautiful...
all behind the paywall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a shame, because I enjoy that free stuff. It's a real shame. But I guess, kids can still be around. So, but what I love about it is when I see the guests talk and I think, where was that? I'll hear something talk and I go, I bet you I know what show they were on. I guarantee I know. And it's yours, because you've, in this world, created a safe place for people to talk. Right? And they might tell a story a little deeper, or tell a story they haven't told, because you have this beautiful way about you both. I always say, we're really good in New Zealand at going, how are you, mate? Good. Hey, and we never stick around to hear the answer, do we? Because we don't really care. But you actually ask your guests and me, how are you? And I can see, you really want to know how I am? Oh shit, that's rare. And so I will tell you. So
But it's also
you.
the beauty of long form is that you know you're here for 90 minutes.
Yes.
You know that you need to give depth to your answers. Otherwise, we're going to have nothing to talk about. So
Exactly.
it's kind of like you've got to come and play the game.
So true. So true.
Great start. Okay, I want to move us into TV. So when did you first decide that you wanted to be on the screen, and how did that happen?
I can tell you the exact moment because I thought about it just yesterday. So I'm at home and there's an ad that plays on the television and it's got that Caravan of Love by the House Martin song. Da, da, except better than that. That could be any song. And it's an ad for TVNZ and it's all in slow motion and they're getting ready for the Olympics. And Philip Leishman is shuffling papers at the desk. I can still see him. And he smiles and he points to something off camera. And I said to Mum in our lounge, I want to be him. Like, look at that guy. Like, and I knew Phil Leishman from growing up. So he's just so happy and funny and he's just such a character. I want to be him. Well, of course, chances of that happening to me are very, very slim. And I remember once we then, soon after that, went on a trip to Wellington in the Hillman Hunter estate and we stopped outside Avalon Studios and we've got a photo of me giving this stupid thumbs up, and I said to Mum and Dad all the time, one day I'm going to work there. And you fast forward quite a few years later to when I got to host Dancing with the Stars for 5 years. And it was quite emotional, I think about now. Yeah, walking into that building because it was like, that little boy, I got to do that. Like, I did something good, eh? It's like, yeah, wow. But yeah, I remember that photo and remember that moment thinking, And to this day, I tell lots of people, if Jason Gunn as a little boy can say, I want to be on television, and I can be on television, listen to me wherever you're listening. You can do whatever you want to do. Like anything is possible. If I can do what I've done, you just dream big. Seriously. Like I am the key to the door for you to open and just friggin' go for it. Yeah.
But, but presumably the TV job wasn't the first time you got paid for your for your ability. So was there a paper round or was there any variety stuff or?
Let me tell you the first job I ever got paid because I used to do a lot of drama and improvisation, which I think is the secret. A lot of people say to me, I've got kids and what shall I get them into? I go, get them into improvisation and theatre sports because life is improvisation, right? You've got to be able to stop and go with something else and then yield your idea and go with someone else's idea, right? So I did theatre sports and improv for a long time. And then my agent said, I've got you a job. It's your first job. I went, wow. I was probably, would have been 16, maybe 17, I don't know. And she said, what it is you are going to be an MC at this restaurant that's opening up. And I went, right, what is it? They said, you go and you eat and you watch mud wrestling. And I'm like, it's just, and it's Christchurch. Everything's making sense. The one thing Christchurch is missing is a family-friendly mud wrestling restaurant. And I was like, are you shitting me? Like, what? And we went. So, and we turn up there and there was these very friendly young women who were in their togs. Remember one was called Madonna and that's about the level. I'm sitting
really
here. Oh, yeah, it's good. And then there was me and no one turned up. Opening night, no one turned up. Well, why would you? And so they went down to the pub and they just brought down 100 drunken men. So I thought, well, this is not the family-friendly vibe I was hoping for. I remember Grizz Wiley was in the audience too. He was, but that's another story. And so that was the first paid gig. And it was the only night that restaurant was open because it shut the next night because someone broke their leg jumping into the mud. Long story. So that was my first real paid gig.
Like the Michael Buffer of mud wrestling.
In the South. It was just
let's get ready to. Were you announcing them to come out?
I was all that. Yeah.
Gentlemen and gentlemen, are you ready for
gentlemen and gentlemen? Just the two of you. Wow. Yeah. And you in the kitchen, it was never going to work. But still, I just think.
And I don't imagine the TVNZ scouts were in the crowd to pick you up to go to Auckland.
Who knows? But I do not know. Around the same time, I'd been writing lots of letters to TVNZ saying, please, are there any jobs there? And they'd just go, to start with, they'd go, look, no, there's not. And then I'd just keep writing and then there'd just be no response. And then around that time, I auditioned for a musical, The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole. And I got the lead role of Adrian Mole. And I think the only reason I got it is I was okay at acting, but and without sounding arsey, I've got quite a good ear for accents. So when I turn,
So do you, actually.
See,
Let me do this other
here we
thing.
go. No, I'm going to now. I'm going to.
Absolutely, Jason.
There it is. There it is.
That's all he's got.
I got one word.
We don't need another one after that. So I was able to go in there and say, well, what parts of England is he from? You know, and he was like, oh, you're kind of there. And I was like, okay. So then I was able to do his accent and his voice, and I got the role. It was supposed to go for about 3 or 4 months, but once again, Jason struck by financial failure. It only went for about 2 months, but I loved it. I thought, oh, this is good. And I remember working with some incredible people, like Kate Harcourt played my grandmother in the show, and people on the show, they just taught me so much about acting, but not only that, about camaraderie. And I love the idea with theatre that as a group we got together and we told the story every night. Not just me, like all of us got together. And that camaraderie, that don't worry if you forget your line, I'm here. And I loved that whole together we've got this sort of thing. And so that went well until it finished. And then one day I saw an ad in the paper that said, would you like to be a television presenter? I thought, I've been frigging writing for like 500 years. So I wrote again. They were like, oh, you can imagine. They're like, oh, not this guy. Shit. So I got to audition. I did a workshop over a weekend. And I remember looking around and going, well, there's some very attractive young people here, and there is also me. And I thought, wow, like a lot of the guys were, oh, okay, if it's that sort of show. And at the end of it, I remember the boss at the time walked me to my car, and it was a Sunday night, and he said, hey, listen, we're going to offer you a contract tomorrow for probably about 6 months. I was like, sorry, what? And that, oh, okay, really? And I remember it was a Sunday night because on the Monday, Mum and Dad came with me and we signed a contract, and we went and had sausage rolls to celebrate.
How old were you, Jay?
So I would have been maybe 19, yeah. 18, maybe even still 18. I think still 18.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously money not a problem for the Gunns when the sausage rolls are coming out. So yeah, and that was a 6-month contract that has sort of rolled over a few years now.
Yeah. Talk us about so there's a few shows here, After School, After Two, Jase TV, Son of a Gun. Did they kind of just roll into one another over a few years? Yeah, so After School was there and Thingee was there just before me. And then I had to go to Auckland because they deemed, I'm in Christchurch at the stage where a lot of children's television was made. And they said, you must go to Auckland. I went, okay, cool.
When did Ben Kenobi work?
Yeah, exactly. Did you not know? That's after he left. No, exactly. So I went to Auckland. Ben Kenobi sends me to Auckland. And I'm like, okay, thanks, old man. And I thought, and that was called After Two. I thought that, and it was me, blessing in disguise, because it was me and a desk and a palm tree and a ukulele, and that's all there was. And I had to make 17 minutes of content a day on television. I was like, okay. Now, so I had to dig deep and be good. And not being arsey, but, there wasn't like casts of thousands here. And that's where I think I really learnt that looking down the camera and go, I'm not alone. Actually, I've got you at home. So we're cool here. And that's where I think I learnt the art to really look down the camera and hopefully reach out to people and feel like I'm only talking to you. Because it was just like me and the palm tree and the ukulele and the desk. So they were great. And that became After Two. And then we moved back to Christchurch after a year. And it was around that time that a lovely woman came to produce my show, who is now my wife. And she said, I'm going to be honest, I think you're a little lazy. I went, well, hi. And she was right. She said, I think you can do more. And so she set up this idea of, let's give you a show where you can, her words, not mine, showcase what you can do. And so we set up Jase TV and then the Son of a Gun show. And
on these sort of 17-minute segments where it's you and you've got to come up with it, are you getting help writing these bits? Are you coming up with it on the fly? Like, how do you remember?
I've always been a bullet pointer. Like, just like, okay, we'll talk about this and this. I don't need the words in front of me, which is, again, it easily said, which I try and teach people now. Put down the words, stop reading to people. And no, bullet points. See, you got bullet points. That's what you've got. And that's what life should be. I see bullet points are like a GPS. They guide you where you want to go. And that's how you'll get there in case you forget or go off on a tangent like Jase is prone to do. And so I used to bullet point my way and think, what could we talk about? And then you get letters, crazy, that back in those days, and you'd read them out and people would ask you questions and you'd answer them. So it was very much, as much as I could make it, a two-way conversation. But, I look back at those days as just my best days of television because, people will come up to me, and this, honestly, this still affects me. It happened, I was at the doctor's a while back. I had a stupid little finger injury while trying to catch rugby balls with my son. And I went into a clinic, an after-hours clinic, and this guy was sitting opposite me, and we didn't talk at all. And then he went to pay, and he came back, and I think, oh, God. Like he said, hey, Jason, you don't know me. In fact, I think he said, hey, Jason Gunn.
Yeah, I was going to say, he would have said full name.
He would have full name. And he said, I had a pretty shitty upbringing, like pretty shitty. But he said, yeah, he just said, look, you just made me smile, mate, when I needed to smile. I was like, wow. Like, it still affects me because I think, wow, I wonder how many little kids, you got to be that ray of sunshine for. And yeah, and that's all we tried to be, right? Just be that one consistent person who reminded that kid at home watching that you've got this, man. Don't you friggin' listen to anyone who says you haven't. Whatever you want to be, you be. Saddest day of my television life was the day the Son of a Gun was over, and Son of a Gun show finishes. And I said to the producer, I need to have a moment where I look down the camera, and it just broke my heart. And I had to say, and I take myself there now. I wanted a moment where I could look down the camera and go, I'm not going to be here every day now, but I want you to know you've got this. And oh my God, we're going to catch up, and you'll see me in the street, but I just want to thank you and just know that you have got this and you're going to be awesome, and don't let anyone ever tell you haven't. And I remember just I was a mess trying to say that. So it was like literally saying goodbye to a friend that you might never see again. So yeah, that has been such a huge part of who I am, those early days in children's television. Yeah.
And it's such a unique time because back then there was only 3 channels, and all of New Zealand,
channels, man.
Yeah.
2 channels, sorry.
What's with this 3 channels?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Showing my age. But everyone was watching you together. And now it's so, there's so many different, everyone was watching you.
I loved that.
And I wanted to know at 18, 19, 20, when your star started to rise, what was it like with your peers? Like, were you a big celebrity amongst your peer group socially?
Well, probably, to be honest, I would suggest this. It probably shut me down a little bit. And, I've got some great peers and mates that we catch up, but I probably alienated, not trying to, but I didn't like the attention, so I wouldn't go. Look, there was probably 25 years never went to town on a Friday night. I just thought, a few drinks, I don't need that shit, and I don't deal with it. And I'm quite a sensitive soul, so I'm like, I'm fine, And I was in a wonderful relationship at the time, so it was all very safe, and I was a little probably old before my time, which I don't regret. I mean, they were the best years. But yeah, I never saw myself as that because they got busy. I got busy in television. Everyone who that became my peers were people in television. Like, I hung with a lot of people who were like 10, 15 years older than me, and they taught me everything I know.
And I guess now you'd be getting dings on social media all the time if you were that star. But then if you're not going out,
right,
you're just...
Totally. And again, dare I say it, I like to think I'm still very grounded. And I think a lot of that's because of that. Like, I see a lot of people in the media, and they would go to the opening of an envelope, wouldn't they? You'd sort of go, oh God. And it's not me. It's not me. I live on 10 acres just out of Christchurch where I struggle to work out how a tractor works. And it's the furthest thing away from being Jason Gunn. And I love that. I just love it. It's like, I'm just a guy. It's like, so everyone in my little village knows me as the guy that one day, 20 years ago, accidentally put petrol in the diesel mower and will not let it go. But anyway, I love that. So I've been lucky that I can not live this arsey life where television doesn't define me. I always knew one day it would stop, the regular TV, and that's cool. It's like, I still get to be Jason Gunn, just not that Jason Gunn. And then I've tried to adapt and be on social media and managed to keep going. And so, yeah.
You talk about the effect that you had on thousands of kids and people, but at the same time, you started as a kid. And what was the lag between starting and being regular on TV and that feedback to start to come back to you about the importance of what you were doing?
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? Like whenever you're in a job and it's a great job, you don't realise it until it's possibly too late. Like I just every now and then you just see things. I remember sadly when my mum passed away, and we were just. I say that I can't just race past that. It was worst time of my life, you know. But I remember opening this drawer in her bedroom, and it was like, oh my God! And there in this drawer, just sitting there all by itself, was a Son of a Gun T-shirt. And I thought, shit. Like, I mean, I didn't even, like, Mum was like the proudest mum in the world. But like to see that Son of a Gun T-shirt, never been worn, just brand new, just sitting there. I was like, shit, that's, yeah, okay. So that was a time. And when I think about it, what I love the most about all of that time was the joy I was able to bring others, like my mum. You know, I love that she'd go to golf and people go, how's Jason? Or she'd go to Probus, how's Jason? And that I remember looking at that Son of a Gun T-shirt in the bottom drawer of hers and thinking, yeah, like that was a thing, right? And like you just didn't know it back in the day. It was just a job. You were just having fun on television. It's only now that we look back at those days and go, Jason, those were special days. Yeah.
The other cool part of this, which I learned in the research, is that your brother was writing for you on Son of the Gun.
Yeah.
So, like, what a cool scenario as this thing is gaining popularity and you and your brother are writing it together.
Amazing. Well, again, I mean, I could not be more proud of my bro. Like, he went through school, smashed school, went through law school, smashed law school. First in his class, his year to get this amazing job as a lawyer, just fantastic. And then he just rang me one day and said, yeah, I don't think I like this. I was like, oh, God, if you told Mum and Dad, this is going to go, like, seriously, don't tell them till I'm there because I want to see their faces. Yeah. And then we talked about it and I said, well, you are like, he's like the greatest wordsmith I know. I said, well, what, you should come and so he wrote for Son of a Gun, and of so many TV shows where there's been words that I've spoken, like on Dancing with the Stars, so many shows, he's written the words.
He's written the bullet points.
Exactly. Andy, you hear that? They're just bullet points, mate. And it's just been the most beautiful thing because it's been that connection with him. Like, so sometimes you might be reading something and you think, I'm just talking to my bro, to be honest. That's all I'm doing.
What an incredible life you got to build with, you meet your wife.
I know,
you
right?
work with your brother.
Yeah.
You have another, and I'm sure we'll get to him eventually, another really influential person in your life in Alan Henderson.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like, it's just such a great, I can see why you look back at it so fondly, and you've still got the majority of that cast of characters alongside you.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah.
What a cool thing to have built for yourself.
No, and, well, or built around me. You're right. No, but you're right. I didn't realise it till then, just, and we all don't like to be that person who goes, oh, back in the good old days, but they really were simple days, and we joke about 2 or 3 channels, but everyone would sit round a television together and experience something together and go, hey, did you see Jase? No. Well, you can't go and Google it, mate. You've missed it, but he might talk about it tomorrow. So it really was a special time. And you're right. I've been so lucky to be around people who have taught me so much and just been insane enablers. There's a great word I love, actually, possibilitarians.
Yeah.
And I love that word. That's what I've been surrounded by, possibilitarians, people who have made it possible for me to do what I do. Yeah.
And I think this is a good time to talk about Alan, because I want to give some space, because a big part of that success was the relationship between Jase and Thingee.
Oh, of course.
And
yes.
I know he passed recently, but I was wanting you to reflect on where that magic came from and what the dynamic looked like between you two.
So he started just before me with this Thingee puppet. I don't use the word puppet much because it's just Thingee. And I thought, oh, yeah, that could be something. And they thought, will you two get along? Yeah. And then I went to Auckland, so it was just Jason. And then I came back and said, hey, can we reignite that whole thing with Jase and Thingee? And they were like, I guess. And Alan was a family man, and interesting, his mum and my mum actually grew up and knew each other from out sort of Kerwee, Halkett way in Christchurch. So rural background and just salt of the earth. Great storyteller, right? Family comes first, like this guy. Very funny, but at the heart of it, values, like, knew where the line was. So we just got on very, very well, and we just make each other laugh out loud. And he was also, which I want to make sure everybody knows, an incredible camera operator, incredible director. Like a lot of the rugby games and great cricket games that you've watched, Alan Henderson Thingee was the man going and cut to 5 and cut to 3, steady 2, cut to 2. Like he was that guy, like an amazing broadcaster on so many ways. And because of that, I became a much better presenter because he was able to say to me, hey, mate, listen, if you turn your head this way and look there, if you hold this and do that, all those little skills he was able to teach me because he was a camera operator and a director. So I didn't realize that until I remember there was one day I was hosting Dancing with the Stars. And back in those days, like you're talking hundreds of thousands of people watching. It's like, oh, God. And I remember standing there and having a moment thinking, and with 30 seconds to one here, and you're thinking, wow, this could all turn to shit, couldn't it? Like, what if I just stuff this up? And I remember having a moment thinking, you're going to be fine. Because think of the people, the Alan Hendersons, the Jeff Clements, just all the different people I'd worked with over the years who had taught me so much. And I thought, just stick to what they've taught you. Just be true to yourself. Nothing can go wrong. If you just hold on to that, you've got it. So just don't worry. Don't ignore that silly voice in your head, the self-doubt, and just imagine they're here now. And it was just the most beautiful thing. So I'm so grateful for Alan and what he's taught me in life, really, yeah.
Just getting into the weeds a little bit. When he was Thingee, what did that physically look like?
Great question. And let's talk about when you say get into the weeds. Alan was often in a lot of weeds because he was literally.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, well, hilariously, like so. Thingee was. I mean, he would be the hand that was inserted, and then he'd have another hand which was his hand, his other hand, and. We always said, Al, one day you should release a book, and it was something like we're going to call it Floors and Gutters, because that's basically where he was.
Yeah.
He'd always be on the floor or on the gutter and looking up. You know, I thought it was his back that was going to get him in the end because I thought he must have broken it so many times. And then the most beautiful thing was, if there were children, you know, watching, they'd never look at Alan. They'd always go, guys, there's a man with a hand up his ass. Is anyone else seeing that? Is it just me? Right. They wouldn't see that. They'd just look at Thingee and it was just mesmerising. So for me, I got to see these kids look at him and he'd be like, oh, hello, little Stephanie, how are you? And to this day, I sometimes do the voice and people go, you were the voice of Thingee. And I go, no, I was beside the guy who was the voice of Thingee and the hands of Thingee. And yeah, but it was he had to literally get behind some things and in hiding Alan sometimes. And there'd be windows or mirrors. We can see your ass and shot. So you go, okay, sorry. Get down a little lower, Alan. Find the most uncomfortable position and go with that. So,
magic of TV.
The magic of TV. So true.
What a thing to do for a living, eh?
Yes.
What a job to have.
But, you know, the places we got to go, the things we got to do, very quickly, the best story about one of my faces of Jason Thingee. So South Africa is playing the West Indies at the World Cup at what was Lancaster Park. So what?
92.
92, and this is unbelievable. And they invite all the world press there because this is the first time South Africa's been back playing world cricket for a while. Anyway, so Jason and Thingee popped down with a handy cam, and we're going to try and capture this because we love our cricket. And we've got the gear on, and it's like, I love this. And they go, hey, we're just going to ask the captains, you can just choose some of the world media. So you got your BBC, you got your Channel 9, and then I don't know who it was it wouldn't be Curtly Ambrose. I think who it was back in that day was like, oh, we'll have that one on the BBC. And then he looks at Thingee and he goes, and we'll have that one. That one. And I'm like, are you shit? What? And he's looking at us and he goes, yeah, that one. And are you with him? We'll have those two. And I'm like, so everyone else pisses off. It's the BBC, Channel 9, and Jason Thingee, right? And I remember we all got to go out the middle one at a time. And when we went out to the middle, because this is just before the game's about to start, the whole stand is like, Thingee, not friggin' Jason, what am I, chopped liver? But and I just remember thinking, wow, Jason, you are part of something like, wow. Yeah. Like just, I lived at Lancaster Park watching cricket. So to hear that noise and think, wow, sure, they're drunk, but still, to be a part of that, pretty special. Yeah.
That's a good Curtly.
Yeah.
Have you got a lot of accents in the locker, eh? That's really good.
I'll poke you for one while we're in accent space, because Jahan Castaneda came on and did a very good Paul Holmes.
Oh, did he just?
But we wondered, could we?
Well, you see, the thing about Paul Holmes, Paul was very good because what I loved about Paul is for no reason
for no reason, he would stop in the middle of a sentence and he'd just stop and pause and he'd look around and then he'd come back, wouldn't he? He would come back and he'd get very excited and then sometimes he'd bring it down. These were our people. This was Holmes tonight.
It's better.
No,
It's better.
no.
It's better
Very,
than Tom.
very
Sorry,
good.
Tom.
No,
I was
it's
having an out-of-body experience
No.
then, thinking I
well,
was
he was
back
amazing.
at-
See, I remember the time I got to meet Paul, Sir Paul.
Yeah.
What a lovely man. Can I tell you a quick Paul
Yeah,
Holmes
yeah,
story?
please.
I love
shut
that you're trying to check it off with us as if like
No, I just
as
like-
if the bullet points even matter now.
Shut up. So one day they decided they're going to make New Zealand's Got Talent, and they're going to make that. And I thought I might get asked to host. No, so anyway, so Tamati Coffee gets to host a show. I love Tamati. He's part of the family. Lovely man. And Tamati Coffee gets the host, and the show gets an average review. It does. And I'm like, no, I mean, I'd look back at it and go, there was some possibly issues with the judges. But anyway, we digress. Anyway, and then the reviewer said, but finally, the host, Tamati Coffee, it's the Jason Gunn we always wanted. I'm like, shut your mouth. Like, what? Like, you're dissing me and I'm not even on the show? Like, how does that work? And I remember thinking, shit, I don't like you. Anyway, this is possibly months before Sir Paul Holmes passes away. Anyway, so I go to my phone and I see there's a couple of messages I've missed. And I'm like, oh, hello. And so I go, oh, message received at 3:23 p.m. And it's like,
Hello, listen, it's me. Now listen here. There'll only ever be one Jason Gunn, and don't you forget it, boy. Don't you forget it. All right, then.
message ends. And I go, oh my God. Next message at next message. And the message goes, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying it. Excuse my French.
Oh, fuck, sorry, I forgot to say it's Paul.
I think somewhere I've still got those messages.
Oh, mate.
And I remember thinking, wow. And I just, again, the people I've got to meet on this show, in this career, on that show and these different shows, that's been my absolute highlight. Just amazing. People like him that you just thought, wow, you're a legend, man. Like you are, wow. So, yeah, amazing.
Speaking of legend, before we leave Son of a Gun era,
Yeah.
the urban legend of Thingee's eye.
Of course. Let's go there.
I know you've debunked it a few times,
shush.
but there may be people that still believe they were sitting at home after school
yes.
and saw Thingee's eye pop out live on television.
Live. And, of course, it was pre-recorded, the show, generally, because, well, we probably didn't back ourselves. And also, just in case, I don't know, one of us lost an eye. And it turns out, on this particular situation, I'm giving a bike, and he goes, I know it's my bike. It's got a wheel and a handlebars, and see, I know it off by heart. And all of a sudden, the eye pops out, and I keep going, and he puts his hand over his eye, because we used to sail pretty close to the wind. Like, there are some things we did, I thought, in hindsight, we shouldn't have gone to air with, but no, well. And the humour was very for children, but a little bit of adult in there to keep the mums and dads happy.
But also help the kids.
Of course,
Help
right?
the kids come of age as well.
Absolutely. Always say, did he just, I think he did, surely not.
Does that mean Rudy's?
Yeah, that surely doesn't mean that. And so then we stopped and we thought, well, we better do that again, eh? Because we thought if a kid sees that, that's going to be traumatic. Anyway, so we do it again, and that's fine. And about 6 months, maybe 6 months later, someone from TVNZ, it's the start of the end of television when they go, we're going to make a bloopers show. Oh, we're at that stage. Sure, have you got any bloopers? And I'm like, we've got that one when your eye falls out. Should we do that? I mean, that's never going to go anywhere. Like, that's not going to be remembered. So we give them that, and it plays on the show. Around that stage, Jeremy Wells makes a show, Eating Media Lunch, puts it on the opening titles. Around the same time, YouTube kicks off, and then it just goes crazy. And and that became, oh yeah, where were you when Thingee's eye fell out? And I've got to sadly tell people now that the way you remember it is not, in fact, exactly how it happened. So, yeah.
Sorry, New Zealand.
Sorry, guys. It's not. I mean, it did happen and you saw it. It just didn't happen when you think you saw it. Yeah.
Were there many other outtakes that could have made a very good bloopers?
Listen to me. Every Christmas there would be a bloopers reel. Now, I'm telling you right now, if one of these tapes gets out, If one of them gets out,
It's over.
it is over. So I'm going to say it now. You choose to judge me, I don't care. They were long days, we got tired, okay?
It's a different time.
And there's a Jason and Thingee after hours. And let me tell you something. Yeah, things were said and done. And it's okay. But if that ever gets out, I just feel in the world we live in now, well,
You can't judge yesterday's behaviour on today's standards.
thank you. And if you try to, you'll be visiting me in prison. So, no, I like that. I like what you've said there.
Yeah, I can't claim it as my own. I've heard someone else
Don't
say
worry. I like it.
Eve did share with me,
Oh.
you did learn on one of those shows that mics can always be hot.
Oh, yes.
And it was in regard to a teacher maybe that was in the
Thanks,
audience.
Eve. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, that is so true. So I was going out with, I wasn't going out with anybody at the time. And during the Son of a Gun show, you know, your mic's on, you're wearing a lapel mic, so you're not turning it on and off. Someone upstairs is looking at you, Nocky. Anyway, so I then go to the bathroom because we're having a little, we've stopped recording, commercial break. And I go in there, and I'm not blokey, look at me. But I say to someone there at the urinal, oh, God, have you seen the teacher? And, oh, my God, like, she is unbelievable. Like, have you seen that teacher? Yeah. And, of course, unbeknownst to me, this is going out to the whole studio where the teacher is and everyone in year 7 or 8 is. Do they come in and save me? Oh, no, they just let me go. No, I just continue to chat about, what are the chances of me asking her out? Seriously, honestly, you know, and then no one stops me.
I don't know, Jason.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jason.
I can't do it.
No,
I
you
can't do it
can.
as well. I can't do it.
What would you like to do?
And they're like, well, I'm saying all sorts of things. And I'm like, oh, God. And then I remember I just walked back into the studio. There's this weird vibe. And then the whole, like, studio of kids goes, ooh. And I thought, what are they oohing about? And I just caught a glance from this young teacher. I was like, there's just no chance. And everyone on the crew is just pissing themselves going, oh, you know, she knows. She knows. So anyway, and then we actually had a beautiful relationship for 7 years and went out. It was just wonderful. Very special time of my life because I always say, around that 18-year-old time of your life, I don't think I could have become an arsehole. But listen to me talking about myself in third person. But I think being in a steady relationship at a time of getting a job like that, and she had a wonderful family. So it's like, I think that was really good for me. And I think that certainly kept me on the rails, as well as my own family as well. Yeah,
grounded.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that had a happy ending. I thought it was, ooh, and then...
No, we did. We went,
fantastic.
No, it was
That's
good.
a great story.
Well, in the end, yes. I mean, we're not together now. I'm happily married with somebody else, but still, it was a special time of my life. Yeah.
So Jace is a sort of squeaky clean kid next door, you know, good
That's
boy.
the brand.
That's the brand. I'll ask you to go with that.
That's the brand. And then I want you to tell us about the collab with Mikey Havoc, how you got onto Jason's Tinny House.
Well, because it was hilarious because I think I'd said to him once or twice, I don't know why I chose Mikey to talk about this, but I said, you know, it's just everybody seems to think like I'm on something, like you must be. And sure, I look back at Son of a Gun now and go, yeah, look, maybe you were taking it in your sleep. Like, what were you on? But the sad thing is, and you can look at this now and go, God, he's a bit OTT. But I wasn't. It was just me, 18, nervous energy, just, you know, that was me. And I used to find it hilarious and also freaking frustrating that people thought, oh, mate, you're on the wacky backy. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm making children's television and they're letting me turn up stoned because there'd be no problem with that. Like that, they would do that, like the national broadcaster. So anyway, Mikey was like, well, you know, why don't we do something with that? Why don't we be a little crazy with that? And I was like, well, what do you got planned? He said, leave it with me. And I was in the duty-free at Los Angeles Airport. And he went, Jason Gunn, how are you? How are you, Jason?
That's a good Mikey Havoc.
How are you, Jason? Are you good, mate? And I was like, oh, hello, Mikey. He's like, I've got an idea. And he sent this idea for Jason's Tinny House. I was like, he said, you know, so basically, you know, you're selling the stuff. But, you know. And I went, no, I'm up for it. He said, why don't you just take the piss out of the fact that people think, you know, you're some sort of dealer anyway. And I thought, oh, well, because this is like, as risky as all get out for me. And the first day it went to air, I remember I was on the Corrie Lounge in Auckland Airport, and this guy comes up to me in a suit and he goes, Jason Gunn, yeah. Mate, look, my kids have grown up watching you. I thought, oh, shit, here it comes. Listen, I just watched you on television last night do a different version of you. And I have to say, mate, I pissed my pants. And I thought, so that's all right. Mate, you get in there, mate. Bloody funny. I thought, oh, okay. And so most people, I think, see it for what it is, which is me taking the piss. Sadly, there are still some people that go, I knew it. I knew he was on something. It's like, okay, that backfired slightly. But yeah, it was very enjoyable, very, very funny.
Yeah, it was really well done. Great. Okay, I want to move you into, and I think this is going to be a really special segment for people of a certain age. Certainly for me, McDonald's Young Entertainers.
Oh, bless.
Like, I've got such a strong connection to that show. When Shay sort of put it in the notes, and he's got Ainsley Ellen, Drew Nemia, and Adrian Stevenson.
Yeah, hello.
Stevenov, Adrian Stevenov.
Stevenov,
Yes,
sorry.
St. John's finest out of Hamilton.
Boom. Look at them.
This was big, right?
Well, I think there was something in Australia called something Showtime. There was a show similar to that. And Dennis Spencer, who worked on that, lovely Dennis was an Australian guy, came over to New Zealand. And Dennis Spencer Productions made a lot of great television at the time. There was a lot of stuff from Grundy and a lot of stuff from Dennis Spencer Productions. Dennis was just hilarious, just brilliant. And he said, we're going to make this, I think Young Talent Time it was called in New Zealand, in Australia. So we made this show and I thought, oh, well, this could be all right. I look back now and honest to God, I mean, my dancing you would describe as being overly Caucasian. Like just honest to God, like... And we made the show, and those kids were ridiculously talented. Like all the Hollies and the Michaels and the Michelles, and what they've gone on to do, and the Drews and the Adrians, and all of them and Ainsleys, just ridiculous. And we got on so well. We were like this cheesy little family, but we honestly were. Behind the scenes, it was just hilarious. We had so much fun. You got to sing great songs, but what was the best part? Young people, the Hayley Westenrers, like Hayley Westenra came on and placed second. She didn't win it. Yeah. She went on to a great career, but just a beautiful young girl. She came on and you enabled people to come on and really shine. And the thing I loved the most about that show, you'd get a lot of people coming on who were so shy. And you think, oh, God, well, I'm trying to get chat out of them. You couldn't get a conversation. And you go, well, here is such and such singing, da-da-da and da-da-da. And they're looking down. You think, this is not going to be good. And then the music starts and bang, they look up. And when they found their voice, they found who they were. And it was unbelievable. Like this transition from shy child to great singer. And you saw them shine and you saw them just go, and there you are, look at you up there. Just to be able to give young people this moment literally in the spotlight was just glorious.
And to see kids, so I was 12 when it was on, and to see kids the same age doing it on the screen, a little bit like you can see it, you can be it. Not that I wanted to go on to be a singer, but...
No, I know what you mean. No, honestly, and I've met lots of people who said, I always wanted to be a super trooper. I think Chris Parker, in his book, at the start of his book, Chris Parker talks about all I wanted to do was actually be on Young Entertainers and be a super trooper. Yeah. But you're right. I think, without being too cheesy again, thanks McDonald's, was the fact that you did see good role models on screen. You thought, it's pretty cool. And again, families sitting around and watching it together. It went great for, I think, a couple of series that were in the studio. And then, I'm not sure if it was McDonald's or someone said, you guys need to take the show on the road. And I remember thinking, well, actually, I think it was my beautiful wife, Janine, who's an amazing TV producer, said, I don't know whether you should. Because the magic is these kids have sung in malls and you're bringing them to TV. And that's where the glory is. And now you're going to take them back to the malls and get them to sing on the road. I think that's defeating the purpose. And and then there was 2 or 3 songs that were sung in sort of McDonald's franchises. I thought, I see where this is going. We've got to pay for this, but it's starting to get cheesier than a cheeseburger, and it lost its way a bit, which was a shame because it could have gone for years.
But you got a VIP McDonald's drive-through sticker from this.
We've heard a lot of McDonald's got sunk. Let me tell you, the Gunn family
right now, seriously. And look. obesity was not a problem in our family until I got McDonald's Young Entertainers. Oh, and if they did say, you know what, you can use this once a week or something like that. We were using it on the daily. Like I'd go through Merivale, Louis going through Riccarton, bang, bang, bang. We're just moving. We've got friends. It's getting passed around whānau. It's getting passed around mates at school. It's like, is Jason going, yeah, he's in the back with us. Oh, away you go then. So I think if you looked at the profits for that year of McDonald's, big downturn. Yeah. Big down. I'm so sorry. Yeah. We loved it.
Yeah. But also that's where your love of PlayStation was sparked in the green room with the PlayStation.
You better believe it was. Yeah, that's when, I'm a PlayStation nut. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of quality games over the last 5 to 10 years, I thought.
I'm glad someone finally said it.
Yes.
I'm glad someone finally said it.
I feel like shots fired because 10 years ago it's like, Call of Duty, and then what the hell's happened? I just feel like, what?
Have you always been quite a tech person?
Yeah, I love technology. I love gadgets. Like if something's not working in the house, possibly the only thing I'm good at is going, Janine, I'll ask you to sit down, sweetheart. I've got this. She could probably fix it, but I like to feel I'm the only. But I love technology, love gadgets, love making things work, especially if they're not working. And yeah, love technology.
But again, a report from a well-placed source suggests not maybe the best in the kitchen.
So that is a good point. Now, baking, ginger gems, I'm talking my mum's pikelets, Mum Gunn's pikelets. I can bake those, seriously. I can wow a crowd with that. Cinnamon scrolls, you're welcome. But if you're talking about you want a meal that possibly requires multiple things going on, I'm looking at those potatoes going, there's no way that can be ready when that chicken's ready. It's just impossible.
I've heard if you're looking at the potatoes, you're thinking, that would look good with some gravy.
That's exactly
and the Colonel's secret herbs and spices. Because you are also not only a fan of the Golden Arches, but also the Colonel's secret recipe.
It's hard to believe I had a heart attack, isn't it? But no, it is. I don't know how that ever came about, but certainly Colonel, and we've got to go original. I don't want this hot and spicy rubbish.
Oh, interesting.
We're original, and absolutely. The number of times I've said to Janine, hey, sweet, do you feel like cooking tonight? And she's like, I don't know. I went, look, I would love to cook for you. But you know what? I know someone who'd be even better at cooking for you. Let's get the Uber Eats. It's like Uber Eats has been a life changer for me. Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
I want to move us into Dancing with the Stars. 4 years, 2005 to 2009.
Yes.
You spoke about the size of the audience, and the job itself seems to be one of the hardest, right? You're singing and dancing and it's to camera and you're managing the floor. You made it look easy. And I spoke to your brother about it. He's like, talk to him about this, because he did make it look easy, but there's so many bits and pieces to manage while doing it. Huge audience, a lot can go wrong. The dancing element to it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully I didn't do a lot of dancing. I did a little dancing at the start with Candy Lane, and that was enough for me to just freak out. I guess the problem with that show for me in terms of difficulty and self-doubt was like the first and last show were like 90 minutes. I think they're generally about 60 minutes, but you've got to hold it all in your head, and you've got to know if something turns to shit, like as the host and it's live, you need to be able to go, okay, we've got this. So, and often it would, but of course you look around the crew of like, I don't know, 25, 30, massive crew. And you thought, again, I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by professionals. I'm just the face of the show. Like the real craftspeople are behind the scenes. And so it was a challenge. I loved that. I used to get so nervous before a show. Like you just go, like hundreds of thousands of people watching. You think, well, it could all just end tonight badly. Do I fall down the stairs? Do I forget my words? Like, what is it? And that's where I learned, I think, on that show, the art, and I'm trying to get good at this in life, of just chunking down. Like you can't remember the whole show, right? You can't. But what you can do is, all I need to remember is that bit from welcome, hi New Zealand, welcome to Dancing with the Stars, down to let's meet our 8 celebrity couples. And then I breathe and I can let all that stuff go and let them do that, and I can pause, and then I can go, well, listen, it's time to meet our first contestant tonight and introduce them, and then throw to their dance. And then I pause again. And when they come back, I go, that was fantastic, great stuff, insert name here. We'll catch up with what the judges thought right after the break, and breathe again. So a huge show is actually broken up into little moments. And I think, this sounds very Tony Robbins, but, life is very much like that as well. It's like you just got to break it up into moments, right? And sometimes I find I get very overwhelmed by life, and I think about those times in TV, like that show where I go, just chunk it down. Let's just look at Monday. Let's just look at Monday morning. Let's just look at this first hour of Monday morning. And you need to build in little commercial breaks along the way. So that was a I learnt many life skills on that show to survive.
Like, I don't even in any way want to compare my experiences to Jason Gunn's, but I had a I had a very small window of live TV at the end of last year with the Pacific Games in the Solomon Islands. So I was hosting the global feed.
Brother, live is live. Numbers, forget the numbers.
And
live
it's
is
terrifying.
Live. It is.
Those are big numbers.
You've got the director in your ear, like 10, 9, and 5, 4, and live. And then I wish I had known you before then about how to talk to a camera and dial into talking to that one person, and then having to ad-lib while the producers in the back, like, the VT's not ready, and this, that, and the other, and like, there's so much going on in your earpiece.
Yes.
And at the same time, you're speaking and talking to camera. It's a real skill.
Yeah, I hope you've got a producer who finds when you're not talking to talk to you, but they're not all like that. And I guess so. And I the other thing I learned on that show was that you really need to learn. I sound like the old man now, but I see a lot of young'uns, and I don't think they've learnt the craft enough, or they haven't learnt the rules to break the rules. You've got to know and learn the rules to break the rules. So I think on Dancing with the Stars, I would be there like hours beforehand. Like, I would just and learn the script and do this and be there. I'd have a quick dinner, and then I'd go to the studio and I'd say to my auto cue operator, I want to run through the show like 3 or 4 times. And she'd go, of course you do. Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to cover, like Ernie Wise, I want to cover every possibility of what could go wrong. I want to know these words. So if those words aren't there in the auto cue, I don't need them. It's fine. I know what to say. I know what's coming up next. So I would just really, really over prep it, and then go, I'm ready now, and then go and do it. And so for me, it was all about, that's how I did it. I thought, once I know the rules and I know the show backwards, then I can start to play with it. The danger is when you don't know it and you try and play with it, and then you stumble and you go, can't get up, cannot get up, don't know how to get up. And so, that was, I think you just got to really just know it backwards.
So the most interesting example I can think of that is when Rodney Hyde dropped Crystal Stewart.
That's very good. Amazing.
Yeah, so had in all of your preparation and your planning, had you prepared yourself for that moment?
Well, because I'm out the back and I'm watching them do this dance, and then I come onto the dance floor and I see her lying down. That's weird. And he's sort of just...
He's mortified, right?
He's mortified, but then as an MP trying to go, look at me, nothing to see here. Like, I'm fine. This is how it was. Now, at no stage, I don't think was he supposed to pick her up, let alone do the World Wrestling Federation, slam into the floor. And I always tell a story, but it's so true. It's so true. As I'm getting there and trying to make this moment like, oh, God, oh, right, so that just happened. As I'm standing over her and she's looking injured, I realise that their chosen charity is in fact St. John. And I'm like, well, this is just friggin' awesome. This is just, you couldn't write this stuff. So, we get up and we get them to the judges, and the story just gets better because they go on to get the lowest score in the history of Dancing with the Stars in 72 countries. They go on to get a score of a 1 and a 1 and a 1, which Rodney was quick to point out is in fact the number for St. John. So it's like, are you shitting me?
Yeah. Genius.
Like, I mean, the guy's quick.
Yeah. But you were just as quick as well, because one of the weird things about that show is how brutal the judges' feedback can be.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he's like, I watched it back before this.
Yeah.
He's hating himself in that moment.
Yeah.
And he's getting hammered by the judges. And I think Brendan Lovegrove?
Brendan Cole.
Brendan Lovegrove's the comedian. Brendan Cole. Like, almost has a go at Crystal as well.
Yes, no, yeah.
And there's a bit of a weird atmosphere.
There is.
Do you, Jason Gunn?
And then you go...
Go on, do it.
No, but you go... Do you remember what you said in the moment?
Well, I remember the time. What did I...
You go... Can we talk about the shirt? And he had like rhinestones on the back of his shirt that spelled Rodney Hyde.
Yes.
And it was just like the ultimate pressure... Like the pressure of the moment just kind of lapsed out of there.
See, it's weird. I don't like. See, when people are got at or picked on, I'm like, not on my watch, buddy.
Yeah,
can't stand it. Can't hear if I hear it on the sidelines at rugby. I'm like, why don't you just shut your? I can't stand.
Is that Sideline Jase?
So there's a Sideline Jase. Yeah, but Sideline Jase can't stand those sideline people. Like just yuck. So on that night too, I remember going, she's devastated. She's put her all into that, right? And you're having a crack at her. And it's like, oh, no. And so I thought, well, what's my status here? Well, I could go back at Brendan. I know Brendan well, so it's like, yeah. But I thought, why don't we just, hey, oh, guys, look at this interesting thing over here, and just change tack, because also I thought it was a bit lighter, because I thought underneath this, I was going to say underneath Rodney was literally Crystal, but underneath Rodney is this person who probably is feeling very disappointed.
Oh, you can see
And
it.
just
Broken
like,
man.
he broken. Like, this was not supposed to happen. And so I think sometimes you just need to remove them from that and go, dignity, right? It's dignity. The day that becomes a show of, look at us laughing at other people, and that's all it becomes, it's like, yeah, no, we don't want that. Because you know what? You're asking people who are not dancers to dance live in front of the nation. And 99.9% of people, including myself, would just go, that's a no from me.
But before we go back to Dancing with the Stars, can we visit Sideline Jase again?
Yeah, hello, yes. Not good.
Well, I don't.
Who you've heard?
I've heard
Yeah.
you had to buy a round of coffees for a whole sideline at a.
Oh, God. Did Adam tell you that?
He did.
I knew, Adam, No, this is me to a T. So I get quite wound up with people getting wound up, and they'll say stuff, and like, I get quite wound up particularly if one of your kids like Louis is playing cricket or rugby and people are saying, "Mate," screaming at him. I just want to go. The dad in me goes, "Why don't you shut up?" But of course, I'm also always
You've got to manage the brand.
and also I'm the smallest person there, so they're always going to take me on and win. So, and the brand. So I'm out there going, all right, guys, all right, calm down. It's at a cricket game, right? And things are getting said, and then parents on the sideline are getting just like, well, why don't you? And I'm just like, well, look, why don't you? And I'm just like, where is this going? Like, because I don't like people getting talked at that way. So, and I don't have the ability to walk away or have noise-cancelling headphones. So I'm like, all right, mate, all right, calm down, mate. Your kids are no better. And it's just getting a bit sort of feisty. But here's the other side. There's that side. And then, of course, what happens with me with anything, you know, I breathe for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, Jason, you didn't need to behave that way. I'm quite embarrassed by that. So then I'm like, there's like 30 people there. Hey guys, I'm just going down to get a coffee from the shop. Can I get you guys a coffee? Like, you know, can we make peace? I don't say that, but I don't like things being not all right. And it's just like, you idiot. Like, we can all see what happened, but I don't like things being left like, oh, guys, come on. It's like sometimes on Facebook, on my page, some people will just get stuck in and I'll go, nah, stuff you. And I'll just go right back and go, not on my page, mate. Delete, block, after I've said a couple of things. But if I can talk them down and talk them around, I like that. I always have a couple of cracks on my Facebook page. It's something, oh, you dick, mate, you two-faced. I remember when this happened. I go, that never happened. You know, I took my kid and to meet you and you pushed them in the face. I'm like, because that would have happened. I was such a face pusher. And I sort of go, before I delete and block, maybe we try and just unwrap this a bit. And so often these people go, oh, yeah, no, vehicle Jase here. No, maybe it was someone else. Probably Simon Barnett. And I'm like, yeah, it would have been Simon Barnett. He was quite the face pusher.
On that sideline, Jase, I love the thought of someone getting into it with you on the sideline. Who's this wanker? And then realising it's Jason Gunn. No, it couldn't be.
No. Well, they do, and then they'll go, mate, where's your thingy? I get that. I go, oh, really? Are we going to bring the thingy?
Oh, yeah, real original, mate.
Are we going there, mate? Are we going there? And Louis just says, Dad, just walk away, mate. Just walk away. I go, I'm not as good as you. So, yeah, I do just have to just walk away. And it's not me. People can have a crack at me. But if it's like one of my family or one of my mates, I'm like, yeah, oh, no, I'm not. I'll get quite verbal about that. Because I don't like that. People think, and I look at the sideline going, so we're okay, are we? That this guy's, we're okay that he's saying that? Like, why don't we all just focus on celebrating our own team? Why do we need to bring the opposition down? Like, when did that become a thing? Yeah. So, no.
But that is very much the same on social media as well, is that? Like, we're all going to sit by and let these comments kind of fly?
Yes, right? I don't understand that. And I think we do need to hold people accountable. That sort of either on this sideline or on this Facebook page, we just go, nah, can't do. Sorry, mate. Not allowed.
Yeah.
Jason, I want to talk about some sort of really serious parts of your life that have happened relatively recently.
Yeah.
And the first one is the heart attack in 2017. Can you talk us through what happened and how it's perhaps changed you?
Well, and still affects me today, actually. I was thinking this on the plane today. So I'm at the gym, right? Which straight away, what can we learn from that? Gyms kill people. So, and I was like, the worst thing was I was at the gym and, well, the personal trainer at the time had no idea. I'm literally on the floor because I'd been in the changing room and I just felt lots of different pains, like chest, arm, neck. People often say, what does it feel like? I go, well, your body is not subtle about its signals. It's just screaming at you something's wrong. I also have a very low pain threshold, so I believe this saved my life. So I go to the guys at the gym, it's not really good. They go, you've just overdone it, Gunny. You've just overcooked it. I'm showing 9 of the 10 signs.
Gunny's great.
Gunny, you've overcooked it, Gunny.
Yes, mate. Come on.
Come on, Jason. Come on, mate. What would Thingee do? I don't know. So anyway, I'm having a heart attack there and there. I'm showing 9 of the 10 signs. He goes, this guy, get him a protein shake. So he gets me a protein shake, brings it to me. I'm like, oh, fine. I drink the protein shake. I throw up the protein shake. Now I'm showing 10 of the 10 signs of a major heart attack. And in the end, I just go, oh, God. So I get up and I drive to the office. And I think it was my wife who said to me, God, you look like shit. And obviously I've heard this before from her, so I didn't worry. But then we ended up going to my doctor, he's a beautiful man. He's also my next door neighbour and a very dear friend. And he had to tell me, hey, you're not to panic, but you're going to call Janine and I'm going to call an ambulance. I thought, well, I'm not sure I can't panic. And then I remember getting to the hospital and the guy in the ambulance, side note, the ambulance took forever to get there. And I remember this woman coming in and going, shit, I couldn't find a park. I was like, sorry, what? And I'm like, what? Yeah, no, there's no parks anywhere. I went, you're in a friggin' ambulance. If couriers are allowed to double park, you're allowed to double park too. Anyway, we get there and we get to the hospital. And I remember thinking, oh, this is serious, because I'm trying to make light of it and trying to be like, hi guys, how's everyone's day? And no one's coming back with much. So I'm thinking, this is quite serious. And then I remember this beautiful Scottish nurse said, Jason, we're going to take you upstairs to the little room up there. There's going to be a lot of people. Like, is that okay with you? And I was like, well, I do like a crowd. So, and we get up there and that's when the shit hit the fan and the reality kicked in of like, you know what, the doctor/surgeon said, yeah, mate, this is, you just need to just hold all tickets for 60 seconds, just shush, which you can imagine is difficult. And that's when I remember thinking, oh, right. That, in that moment there was when I thought, hey, you've been a good guy, I like to think, and I've got this vision that I'm going to get to my 4 children's weddings and it's all going to be sweet. But what happens if that's not the actual script? What if you're reading from the wrong book? What if today's the day? And you just go, oh God. So your own mortality is like just staring at you in the face and you're like, wow. And just all your life's priorities get put into place right in front of you, like not thinking about work, not thinking about that email, not thinking about that thing I haven't done. It's just 4 beautiful children, amazing wife, my mum, my brother. You think, shit, I've got some stuff I want to say, like surely this is going to end well. And then in the end, I got a stent, and it was good. But I always say to people, a heart attack, it's like a brain attack. Like it just screws with your brain. Like, because we all get the odd chest pain from time to time. The only difference is if you haven't had a heart attack, as opposed to me, when I get one, a little voice goes, you know what this could be? You know what this could be? And it's wrong, but it always just owns a little bit of your brain. And you think, oh, God. And it worries you, because if you think, if it's happened before it could happen again, well, the reality is the doctor said, with the medicine I'm on now, touch wood, he said, you're actually safer now than you ever were. Like it happened at 47, you were in good nick, thank you, and I was able to recover, and I'm safer now than I ever was. But you just live with that little worry. The worst thing of all is it's what you put your family through. I hate that the most. I hate that my kids had to live through that worry and that fear. Like that's what I hate the most. I remember when Louis, soon after, I was on a plane coming back from Queenstown to Christchurch, and I thought I was having another heart attack. It turns out we were up high. I had a chest infection. I'd taken a little bit too much of the spray that you take if you think you're having a heart attack. So I passed out. And I remember coming to, and Louis just had his hands on his head. He was like, Dad, 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 Dad. And I was like, oh, shit. And I was fine in the end. But you just look back at it and you think, bastard, like, I wish I could take that back for him. Like, he didn't need to see that, because every now and then we'll do something. Not now. He's tough on me now. But for a long time, we would do something, and he or one of his sisters would go, you're good, Dad, eh? You're good. and it's just because I'm at the back of the pack walking because I hate walking, but you could see a little bit of them was like, "You're good, eh, Dad? You're sweet." It's like, yeah, no, I'm totally sweet. It's all good. And so as much as it owns a bit of my brain, I hate how it just owns a little bit of theirs as well, you know? So
we do these they're called reflections interviews, and they're for sort of private, if you want to capture your mum or dad's story, for the family to treasure for generations.
Yes.
We do it. And I did one a while ago with a terminally ill man, and he was in his 50s, and he was getting towards the end. And it gave me the privilege of having a really... The thinking gets really crystal clear in that time. And I remember him saying, and it sticks with me so strongly, that, I used to think family was important, but now family is everything. Family is everything.
Yeah.
And I wondered if in that time, if you had any similar sort of epiphanies.
Oh, look, very much so. I lost my dad quite a few years earlier. He had had a heart attack and he was fine, but then he had a stroke. So I was extra fearful. I thought, oh God, no, we are not repeating that. It turns out there's no link between that at all, really. What sadly got Dad in the end was, other complications. But it's just in that moment, I remember thinking, well, I'm not going to sleep. I'm staying up all night because I want to be all over this, guys. So, and it's that moment. You'd like to think, like a movie, it's changed you forever and there are things that you don't do again, but you also live with this huge disappointment, and you do, and that's the only word I would use, where I've gone back to doing some things and you just do, and you just go, I won't stress anymore. I do. I won't get wound up. Well, I do. Nothing like I used to, though. The heart attack has taught me that warning signs. You're getting wound up, mate. Just pull it back and go, okay, cool. And family is at the forefront of everything I do. If I can't be asked doing something because I don't go to the gym, which I don't go to, but if it's doing something good, I think about my family and go, they're the reason I could get up and do that stretching or those exercises or whatever. Because certainly that journey with them and putting them through that, it's like, no, never again.
And in the research for this, we spoke to a lot of your family, and you've got 4 kids, I've got 4 kids.
Yeah.
It's dad goals, because the way that they speak about you and the relationship you have is just brilliant. And I spoke to Louis, and you both call each other your wingman.
Yeah,
and
we do.
It's such a special relationship. How did you do it? What wisdom can you give on building the incredible relationship with your kids that you have done?
Well, I mean, they are my best friends. Like when people are, who's your mates, mate? Who's your peers? I go, well, that would be Eve, Grace, Faith, and Louis. So I don't know. I just adore them. And I've always been like the proudest parent, and I don't live vicariously through them, but I just watch them grow and just think, what's the best thing? I'm a quality time person, and I think a lot of them are as well. And so we just laugh in a way that I don't with anybody else, or cry, or just, we've been very fortunate, and they've been very fortunate in their upbringing, and and me and mine. So I never take that for granted. So I've been able to do a lot of things with them, and we've done some travel. Heads up, it's not the travel that did anything. It's not where we were. It was just being present, right? So I think having a son and daughters who were both active, being healthy enough to be active was really important for me. Like we'd play silly games and silly buggers, and just you just always try and make it light. And I just love that. And we sing together, and it's that quality time thing. I just think like I would tell them anything now, and I was always like, you can always come to me to have a laugh or to have a cry. Same with Janine as well. I mean, I'm able to be hopefully an amazing dad because I've got this amazing wife who's also an amazing mum. And so, and I think if Jason was on his own, there would have been a slightly different, there would have been issues, because I think Janine has enabled me again. I mean, she's as much fun as I am, but did you hear that, honey? But she's enabled me to be that fun parent, while meanwhile, we've actually managed to run a household as well as that. But I just love them so much. I'm just so proud of all of them. Yeah.
And you run a blended family operation, which I didn't realise, which I should have in the research. But when you sent through contact my kids, this is my daughter's number, and then we got talking, and she said, like you only came into her life when she was 6 or something like that.
And Eve was 6,
Yeah, and I've been called out twice on this podcast talking about, I've got a daughter, she's not my biological daughter, Paris, and I've often used the term step, like that's my stepdaughter and I'm stepdad. And both times I got called out of being like, no, that's just your daughter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and I just found that so on brand for you, to be like, yeah, these are my 2 daughters, even though they're not biologically, but that is your family unit. And so it's Eve just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thanks, brother. Like Eve was 6 and Grace, I think, was about 1. And I was, I mean, it's a tricky situation, isn't it? But you get into it. And I remember going to see a friend of mine who was a family psychologist. And I said, I've got this relationship and these are these 2 amazing little girls. I don't want to make this a difficult journey for them. What can I do? Can you tell me what they will be thinking and how can I help? Like, because, I need to earn their respect and love, and that could take years. I get that. And it was just that, I remember the advice she gave me was just look, you just let them be angry at you if that's the way. They never were, but just don't underestimate the big change this is in their life, like massive. It might seem like and now I'm with your mother. It's like, but no, that's not true. It's a huge, their whole world has changed. So, and look, and they just are my kids. I always say I've got 4 kids because I have, and I've got 4 best mates. And I've always wanted them to know that, how lucky I was at a younger age to have Eve and to have Grace, and then there was Faith, and then there was Louis. But it just, they just feel like all the same to me. Yeah.
Louis sounds like an old soul. And
that's exactly how I describe him.
And there's a really cool story about, and I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about where you were in your life in the radio career, because you had a very high profile, high paying radio career, but you were unhappy, and a conversation with Louis kind of helped you find your way.
Oh, yeah. Louis is an old soul. You're right. He's been here before. And look, I think it was during the heart attack time, and I think radio, bless them, they said, have 4 weeks off after your major heart attack, and then we'll get you back, because, it's survey. And so, got to get back for survey, Jase. So I was like, okay. And Louis was pretty much at home, and I had my radio contract, and I was looking at the radio contract, and he was like, what's that, Dad? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's my radio contract. And he pretty much ripped up the contract in front of me and said, yeah. The conversation was, to the point was, he said to me, when you come back from that job, Dad, sometimes I'm going to say, is he 16 at the time? I don't know, around that age. Wise old soul. And my beautiful boy says, Dad, when you come back from that job, you're quite wound up at times. You're a little shitty. And I was like, well, thank you. And he was really brutally honest. And he said, that's not what success looks like. I was like, wow, okay. And so I got out of it. I got out. But I remember there were times when he was playing rugby for his first 15. Again, proudest dad on the sideline. And he would run up to me before the start of every game sometimes. And he would give me a hug and he'd whisper in my ear, this is what success looks like, Dad. And I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, okay, I get you. Like, lesson learned. And I love that and we all have this moment, don't we, sometimes as parents, where you're the child and your child is the parent. And it's like, and there you go. Like, I'm not saying my job here is done, not at all, but it's like, yeah, okay, I get it, mate. I get it. And for him to be able to guide me and show me that, and for me to get a second crack at life, knowing this, like how horrible it would have been for me to learn that and not go back and make those changes. So how lucky am I, right?
Was it advice from Gilbert Anoka that kind of crystallized that?
He had that great line. Yeah, look at you. That's such good research. It's so true. Gilbert was amazing. I caught up with him for a coffee and he said, Jase, it's people like you that have had situations like this. It's people who have had a second crack at life who realise that you actually only get one crack at life. I remember I was like, Gilbert, I'm going to need some time.
Hang on.
Gilbert, I'm going to need some time and a coffee to think, possibly a gin to think about this. But it's so true. Yeah. One of the greatest gifts that comes with something like a heart attack is that you do go, wait a minute. When you're getting stressed, you stop. And also, you just take nothing for granted. Like nothing. Like everything I get to now, everything I go, how cool is this? Am I right? How cool is this? Because in my probably head, I go, could have gone another way, couldn't it?
That's Resilience Project though as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Hugh van Cuylenberg. That's the GEM principles. Are you still on that?
Haven't done a lot for a bit, but no, you're right. Yes,
Yeah.
That's exactly when I say it now. I think you're right. It's like you're right. Those moments where you go, could have gone another way, right? That's so true.
Yeah, gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness.
Yes,
Yes. I gather as well that you've got a lot of the self-help books and the Tony Robbins tapes.
Jason, Noah, thank you. In fact, Eve and I, we listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. I think Eve probably applies the Tony Robbins more than I do. I can quote him and I know what he does, but I'm guilty of reading a lot of stuff and not applying it. But I think as I get older, Am I though? No, I understand it more. I do love it. I'm all about self-betterment. And I think, okay, in business, like sometimes I look at my business and go, okay, well, look, that's some basic mistakes going on here, Jason Gunn. So just hang on a minute. But even just in life as well, like I think, how could I be better, like a better dad or a better husband? And there is always room for improvement. So those books will never be stopped reading.
But I feel like you had a really good reference point with your late mum, Janice Rose.
Janice, yeah.
Janice.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Like that was a huge time in my life, right? Like
Yeah.
she was the greatest storyteller.
Yeah, what's your favourite story to retell of hers?
Wow. I mean, she just, like Andrew, my brother Andrew and I, he would write down things that mum would say, right? And we just go, that's such a mummism, right? And it was never about her. And she was the greatest storyteller and she could light up a room. So again, much like my Uncle Ray, I witnessed this person growing up who had the superpower of making other people feel like the most important person in the room. And mum was just amazing. How lucky I was. Dad working so hard at work and mum was at home and she just was there. She, at every soccer practice pickup, made every lunch, and a million things. I'm trying not to belittle her in any way because she was just the greatest support network and life coach with her storytelling. Here's something. We'll go to almost the very end of her life, and I hate even saying that phrase. So we didn't talk about mums and Andy, my bro. I hope you don't mind me sharing the story. We didn't talk about with mum, what was going on. There was that illness that she had, but no, she said, the doctors have probably got it wrong. Look, let's just soldier on. Nothing to talk about here because she's 87, she's stoic and it's not about her. How are you, Jason? How's Janine? How's the kids? Like, no, mum, let's just, no. So one day I get this phone call, not too far away from the end of this stage of her journey. And she says to me, now, darling, look, the nurse came in last night and she wanted to talk about the end. And I thought, oh, shit, here we go. Right. We'll go into the other room. I said, I'm going to get you on FaceTime. So we get her on FaceTime. I go, now, mum, you're on FaceTime. You need to take the phone off your ear and bring it around the front. There you go, Janice.
So relatable to so
there
many
you
people.
go, Janice. And so, mum, I said, now, listen, what happened? So the nurse came in. She said, yeah, the nurse came in last night and she was going to talk about, the end and everything. And I went, okay, wow, I never ever want to have this conversation, but still, maybe it's best that we do. So I said, okay. So did she come in? Yes, she did. Did she talk about the end? Yes, she did. She did. And I went, okay, what did she say, mum? And my mum, Janice Rose Gunn, said, to be honest, I wasn't really listening because the cricket was on. And I just go, and that is my mum. That is my mum. And I just laughed out loud and she giggled, but it was true too. She wouldn't have been listening because why would we talk about that? The Black Caps are smashing this. The Black Caps are winning on the television. And that's mum to a T also, not wanting to worry me or Andy or anybody else. And we never spoke about it. And then she was just gone. And there's all these conversations I wish I could have with her. But I love the fact that this beautiful woman just popped out. Just popped out. I like to think that she's on the world's longest Probus trip and she's forgotten where she put her phone charger. And one day she might just ring. I don't know. Yeah.
That's so nice, Jase. Where are you in the grieving process?
It depends. Like, terrible time to start with. But I got it out and spoke to a lot of people about it. And then in doing so, realised that, wow, so many of us are on this journey, right? And now it's fine It's fine of a day, and then there'll just be moments, that you'll just go, oh, I would ring you now. I would ring you now. I shared everything with her. Like, I come to Auckland. Oh, that's a nice hotel room. I'll ring Mum. Everything. I miss, like, if I ever did anything on television, she'd always text me and say, oh, you were so good. Oh, you were so good. That was so good. And then when I was on television less, I'd go on something like The Project, and she'd go, oh, I watched, you were so good. They need to put you back on the TV some more. Like, she was like my greatest fan, and just unconditional love, just next level. That's what I miss sometimes, is those cups that go into Mum, and she'd resend to me more than Tony Robbins could. She'd resend to me, and in her way, just make you feel like you're doing good, just with a cup of tea.
You know what I love about this is talking to Louis, and he sends you text messages now when you go on stage, right?
He does.
This thing is full circle.
It honestly is. I was going to say, he'll send me text. And even like today, he asked me what my day was doing. I said, he's so excited that I'm here with you guys. He's just, like me, such a fan of you and your show. And he's like, oh, Dad, wow, that's amazing. And then today, he'll always send me a little text, and it'll be something like, he'll say, Dad, oh dear, he'll say, Dad, never underestimate the difference that you're making to other people. And I'm like, wow, again, the son is the parent. And it is. And it's like, and I am that sort of person that needs to be reminded that I'm doing okay, eh? And so he has literally picked that up. His texts are like Tony Robbins could not write words like this kid does. And he just knows, like Mum, he knows what to say, and he knows when to say it. And it's just beautiful. That's what the ultimate wingman does. Yeah.
It's incredible, Jay.
Yeah, just amazing. It's just, how lucky am I, And all my kids know when I'm hurting. And if I reach out and say, I miss Mum today, they'll all come back and say, hey, there are still sometimes I just drive down our little cul-de-sac and I think, oh, maybe she'll just come around the corner. And, I think a lot of people get this. You can't believe that someone whose light shone so bright, it just can't be out. I don't understand. And I have this thing. I've had quite a few little incidents with fantails around the home. We live on 10 acres, and I'm a believer that fantails, are little messengers. And it's been amazing at certain times how, when I've kind of needed to talk to Mum, how this little fantail will just come inside and chat, or just sit outside the door, and I go, there she is. She's there. So... But I see her now in Louis and Faith and even Grace. So she's there. Yeah.
And you do a lot of speaking, and I know your mum is part of a lot of your keynotes.
Yeah.
Does the emotion always come out when you're delivering?
I think slide number 16 is a picture of me and Mum together. And I'm talking about heart and empathy and authenticity and reassurance and telling stories. And I get to empathy. And I talk about a situation and a story about Mum when she got a bit sick, and it finishes with me going, I want to show you a slide, and that's when I have to tell the audience, and they don't know, I've been talking about Mum in current tense, and that's when I say, and there she is, and she passed away 3 months after the story I just told you, and the room is like, woof. And I like to be very present when I tell stories and walk beside people, so there are many a time that I've gone, ooh, okay, we're just going to pause here. But I always say to everyone, I'm sorry, it's not that you need to see this slide today. It's more that I need to. So if you just give me this moment, and I'll say, I love you, Mum, and then we'll talk about it and we'll move on. So and she'll be in every presentation. Like the most nervous presentation I've ever given. Oh, that's right. My most nervous presentation ever I've ever given. Well, you're beautiful, man. You get it, right? You get it. It's all good. It's all good. It is all good. It's all good. I gave a chat to some cricketers at New South Wales. Shitting myself because I'm overseas. No one knows Jason Gunn or Thingee. And it was the first time I'd done a talk. I thought, oh God, do I push the picture of Mum up? And I was like, yeah, I will. And I remember putting the slide up, and and I couldn't believe I'd got to speak to the people at Cricket New South Wales. And there she was on this huge screen at Cricket New South Wales. And I was like, Mum, look at you now. Look at where you are. It's like, wow. Like those are the things I wish I could have shared with it. I emceed a night, a big night, and there was a lot of sports stars there. I was very starstruck. In the front row, there was Sir John Kirwan and Sir Michael Jones, Sir Graham Henry, Grant Fox, so many people there. And I put the slide of me and Mum up. And I remember saying, this was like about 4 months after Mum had passed, so it was quite fresh. And I remember looking at Sir John Kirwan and all these people, all these sirs and ex-All Blacks looking up at my mum, and I said, you know what? For so many years, she watched you on screen, and to see you looking at her on screen now, that's pretty special. So she's a part of whatever I do and wherever I go. And I always say about my mum, she was the world's greatest storyteller. And when I'm telling stories like this, like to you now or on stage, I'm not sure sometimes if it's her or me telling the story. And what I say to people is, I don't know where she stops and where I start. And I love that. It's the most connected I feel to Mum when I'm telling stories, which is why I must never stop.
You must never stop. Oh, shit. It's emotional here. For Jase, I don't really know what to say. Like, it's been such a cool episode. Like,
thank you, guys.
The back end has been really touching for both of
Oh,
us.
thank you.
Far out.
No, I get, you know what, the thing that this whole journey with Mum has taught me is that, Mum wouldn't like if I said this, but I'll say it, Mum, sorry, is that we're all dealing with some sort of shit, right? We're all really good at wearing masks. Hey, I get it, you guys. I know some of your stories and my story, that we're all dealing with something, right? And you've just got to go, what would Mum Gunn do? Well, you just try and be there for those people. And the one thing, I can help people that are starting that journey now and go, hey, I get it. And if I can get through this with my mum, trust me, you can get through this. So as much as I don't want Mum to give me this skill, I now have a new skill, which is like, let me show you how you can get through this. It's okay. It's almost like I've come full circle again now. Now I'm that person talking to that little kid in the afternoon again, but they're a little bit older and so am I. So some things never change.
Right.
Yeah.
There's 100% like such a child in all of us that just wants that attention.
Absolutely.
Just wants to be spoken. I won't say spoken to, but spoken with
and reassured.
Yeah, it's such a skill and so needed, I think.
Well, more than ever, right?
Yeah.
You look at how angry social media has become, and we're becoming very unkind. I'm not sure what's wrong with the world when kindness is deemed to be a bad thing, or woke is terrible. I thought woke was just being kind to people. Anyway, I think you're right. I think now is a time that we need to double down on that, because there's a lot of people hurting. And look, I know I've spoken far too long, but the one that gets me is a psychologist recently said to me, one of the biggest killers in the world now is loneliness. And they said that loneliness does to the body what 15 cigarettes a day does to the body. So if you're lonely and smoking, you're in big trouble. But I thought, how is that totally fixable, right? That's literally just going to see the next door neighbour and going, "G'day, mate." That's literally saying to that person in the cubicle next to you at work, "What do you have for the weekend, fella?" It's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he or she's probably wearing a mask that says, "I'm all right." But what if they're not? And what if you could be the one person of a day that goes, "Well, today was worth it," because that nice fella, Jason, he came up and said, "I think he actually quite likes me."
Yeah.
And we can all, you don't have to be Jason Gunn, for the love of God. You can just be you, and you can make a difference. I say life's about creating moments. So why don't we all double down on trying to create little moments with people and be the best part of their day?
Yeah, I love that. I had that as my last line, is like, just be the best part of somebody's day is such a powerful thing. And the other thing I've seen you somewhere, someone needs to hear something I have to say.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
I'm going to attempt to land the plane.
Okay, well, this is good because none of us are in a condition to land the plane.
That's right.
And this is one of my favourite episodes we've done. And
Thank you.
I think there's been so much wisdom to pick up through the whole thing. But I think the main thing that's come through is the power of storytelling, like what you do for your job. the way that you tell your stories and the emotion and the presence and in every story, and I know you've told some of these stories before, but you're telling them like it's the first time, and we're there with you. And holy shit, it's the first time the big man's been brought to tears, and I'm there, and holy shit, Jase, it's been so good.
Oh, but it's so kind. But remember what I said at the start. You enable someone like me to do this. I play to some tough crowds. And, trust me, it's the more you are able to be. This is why this podcast is so successful, because people feel safe. They turn up and they chat and they go, I'll be a little vulnerable. I'll get a little emotional. I don't usually share this, but I'll share this. So, it says a lot about you guys. So thank you. And look, it does show the power of storytelling. And that's when I talk to men especially, and men in business. They go, oh, mate, I don't need to tell stories. I'm like, well, you do, mate. Because I say stories, they take people on a journey and they make you memorable, right? And they make you feel something. And then, that's why we've just got to tell more stories. And I think as New Zealanders, we're really, really good at it. Yeah.
Shay?
Oh, this has been the best part of my day.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Like, the absolute best part of my day. I knew last night when I was listening and researching, I knew I would feel.
Beautiful.
If there's one thing that you never disappoint to deliver, it's feeling.
Thanks, man.
Like joy, sadness, whatever. Like you're just moved to feel, and I feel fucking great.
Great.
Like, and it's so. I say this a lot, and it's such a cliche, and I feel like now that I'm saying it, every other time I've said it, it's not genuine, but like you're just Jason Gunn.
Yeah, that's me.
Like. It's not an act. It's not hyped up on drugs. It's not the cameras are, it's just, you don't care.
No.
You're just you.
Yeah.
And your love for your family and those closest to you is so, so, so inspiring.
Oh, thanks, brother. That's honestly.
I'm not very articulate because I'm bawling my eyes
no,
out.
Shut up. That really means a lot from you guys. I know you get to, and I listen, and you speak to some incredible people. So I'm so grateful that you'd have me on the show. I honestly am. And I like what you said then, because that's the thing, right? Authenticity is key to everything in life, right? I never want people to go, there's an on-screen Jason Gunn, and there's the other version, and that's not good. It's like, I always say the cameras would capture me from time to time. So that's why I say to people, when you're talking to a camera, and if someone at your work says, we need you to make a video, just imagine you're talking to someone that you like and someone that you know. And how would you talk to them? You're never talking to a camera. It's like that's the authenticity. So don't have an on-camera version of you and an off-camera. Just be you, which is what I've tried to do. And yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, man. That means a lot. Thank you.
Legend, Jase. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.